Okay, class. So yesterday we started off with reviewing multiplication of two-digit by two-digit numbers, but we were multiplying by tens, right? And that's how we started off with our strategy. So real quick, just to recap, in case for some reason um, you did not view yesterday's lesson, even though you should have if you're completing today's. We're going to go ahead and do a practice problem just to explain what I mean by multiplying by tens, right? And so let's say that the numbers that I have are 40 times 80. When I am multiplying by tens, the concept is that I am taking the digit in my tens place for each one of my factors, and I am multiplying those. And so when I want to multiply by tens, I'm going to say having 40 times 80 is the same as saying I have 4 tens times 8 tens. And if I have 4 tens times 8 tens, I know that those are easier digits for me to multiply. So just looking at that 4 times 8, my next step is going to be to find out how many hundreds does that make? How many hundreds do I get from multiplying 4 tens times 8 tens? Well, 4 times 8 gives me 32. So if I have 32 hundredths, right? Because I'm doing, again, 40 times 80, that's 4 tens times 8 tens. 32 hundredths written down is going to give me 3,200. And we discussed yesterday how looking at the 0, right, in the ones place for each one of my factors, that's where I got my 2 zeros from, okay? Because again, I am multiplying 4 tens times 8 tens. It's not just 4 times 8 because they're not in the ones place. It's 4 tens times 8 tens. So building on that concept of multiplying by tens, today we are going to go ahead and get started with estimating products. So we've been talking about estimation, and we did it with addition and subtraction. We've done it with whole numbers, and we've even done it with decimals, right? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and get started by estimating products. And if you take a look at your slide 2, a really cool thing about this is that it gives you your example anchor chart, and then when I click on this little QR code, you can either choose to scan it with your phone or your tablet if you have one, so that you're able to view it on a separate device while you're completing the assignment, or you can choose to click it and then you can see it's hyperlinked, and that is going to open it up to the video explaining how we estimate products. So once you have viewed your video for your anchor chart to review, what you'll go ahead and do is you will then complete the you do. The we do will already be completed for you because that's something we will do in class. Your job is going to be, or your assignment is going to be to complete the we do, or I'm sorry, the you do, and that is going to be done. You can tell that these are drag and drop. It's a drag and drop assignment, right? And so I can see that I'm going to have to be estimating each one of my factors, and we are estimating using a number line, okay? And once you estimate, then you find out what your estimate is, and I'm going to have to look for my factors here. What would 49 estimate to, and what would 17 estimate to? And then I would go ahead and fill in my my chart here. So just to do one as an example with you guys, if I'm looking at that first one, 32 times 65. So if I fill that one out, 32 times 65. So I'm no longer multiplying by tens, right? Because I can't do that. I don't have 0, so it's not multiplying by tens. What I'm doing is I have to estimate, right? And I have to use rounding to estimate each product. So you have options. You can use your number line, or you can use the rounding up or rounding down by the rule of 5, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and choose to use my number line just to show you that as an example. And I know that 32, when I'm looking at that, I'm going to look at my tens place. So I have a 3. So if I have 3 tens, that means I have 30. So 32 would land anywhere between 30 and 40. And I count by 10. It has to be between 10 because I'm estimating to my tens place. We've discussed the halfway point always being 5. And the reason we say that that halfway point always has to be a digit that ends in 5 is because we follow, in this case, the rule of we're doing the rounding coaster for rounding up and down. we use that 5 kind of like as a benchmark point. So that 5 is going to tell me if I'm either going to round up or if I'm going to round down. In this case, the 5 in estimation serves as if I'm going to estimate up or if I'm going to estimate down if it's below 5, okay? Same concept. So now I take a look at 32 and I have to think, well, does 32 for me, does 32 land between 30 and 35? Or does 32 land between 35 and 40, right? And so I'm looking at that digit in my ones place, and I know that 32 lands between 30 and 35. So because it lands between 30 and 35, that means that I'm going to go ahead and estimate down to 30. So my first factor is now going to become 30, okay? And I'm going to do the exact same process for my second factor. So again, looking at 65, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one on this side. I have to think, right? So I see that the number in my tens place is a 6. So if I'm going by tens, right, if I were skip counting by tens, after 60 would come 70. So 65 has to land anywhere between 60 and 70. I follow my rule of 5, right? Because that's that benchmark point. So 65 would be in the middle. And I have to ask myself, well, does 65, right? If I'm using this rule here, I would look at that 5, and like I told you, it lands as that benchmark point, and this is where my rounding coaster would also help me, right? Because it ends in a 5, right? That means that it would be closer to 70 than it would be to 60. Oops, sorry, 70. And now that I have that, then it pretty much follows the rule of the multiplying by tens, right? I can actually say, how many tens do I have? I have 3 tens times 7 tens. I know that 3 tens times 7 tens gives me how many hundreds? It gives me 21 hundredths. And I know that that means I have 2,100. And again, where am I getting those zeros from? I'm getting them from right here from my factors, okay? 2 zeros there, 2 zeros here. So that would be my example. So on here, I would write 30 times 70 gives me 2,100. And that would be it. And so your job is going to be to do that exact same process, but you're doing it with the drag and drop. Okay, if you have any questions, please again refer back to this video, or you can always go back and look at the video in your anchor chart.